All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
We have episode 43 Loose Wheel Show. Andrew Hazlett alongside Ethan Ignatowski. We are back. We are here. And we've got some news. And we are recording now on my phone. Shout out my phone. Now the thing appears to be recording without my flash drive in it. I don't even know.
Keep recording both.
My flash drive isn't even in the thing. I don't know what's going on. But anyway.
And now for last week's race reviews.
Homestead Miami happened.
Yeah, racing did happen over.
Grant Enfinger won the truck race. He was already clinched, and he won again. So CR7 going from 0 wins until 2 races ago to now being 2 out of the last 2 wins. Good job to them. Xfinity Austin Hill won Xfinity. Good job to him. He now advances into the Cup playoffs. Tyler Reddick, he started off from pole and led a good portion of the race. Lap 1 incident, Haley spins after turning in front of Stenhouse, and you're saying, Andrew, these guys probably running like 28th, who cares? They were running top 10 because that's where they qualified, Ethan.
Haley Deegan qualified top 10?
No, Justin Haley. Haley Deegan isn't even racing. What?
I misheard. Apologies.
Ethan, your head has to be That's like saying
my head's not in the game.
That's like saying Dennis Hauger's winning the Formula One race this weekend. That's how out of it you are.
He could be called into Super Sub. You never know. You never know. Do you know?
Probably not. I don't even know if he's within the F1 Academy right now. But anyway, who cares about that? Larson, he had a tire down, hit the wall early. That put him in a hole. Caution came out for his tire carcass. We have it was not a loose wheel, it was just a loose tire carcass. Elliott to lead on pit stops. Busch and 3 others stay out on, it was 4 old tires. And then they dropped like a rock. Bubba Wallace, he went to the lead. And then his 2311 teammate Tyler Reddick went to the lead. One stage 1, followed by a Bubba Wallace non-playoff driver. Then you had Elliott and Blaney playoff drivers. Cool, I don't care about that, Ethan.
This is even racing related, and he says, I don't care. That's crazy.
I did not. Well, I saw that, and I looked at it earlier. I'm like, cool. I don't even care now. Carson Hocevar, he had a great run, scoring stage points in both stages, 5th place. Carson Hocevar, you might want to try to get that guy in a better car because he's outperformed everyone at Spire as a rookie. So shout out to him. Moving further down the list, you got Bell, Hamlin, and Byron as your stage 1 part of your stage results, and then rounding out with Bowman and Truex, non-playoff drivers. Blaney to the lead, and then Elliott 17 spun on pit road, blocking the 5 car. So that messed Larson's day up even worse, but it will get better. Elliott to the lead, then Blaney to the lead, then Elliott back to the lead, some great battling. Then Hamlin to the lead. He won stage 2. Hamlin, Elliott, Bell, Reddick, Blaney, Byron, your top 6, all playoff drivers. Then you had a run of non-playoff drivers. You had Truex, Hocevar, Priest, and AJ Allmendinger. Elliott to the lead in the pits, then Bell to lead. Elliott back to lead, then Blaney to lead, Elliott to the lead. So you had, throughout the race, playoff guys sharing the lead, as I mentioned. And then LaJoie spun after contact from Gibbs. Blaney to lead in the pits. Then Elliott passed Blaney on green flag pit stops. Blaney passes Elliott, but that was not for lead as Reddick. He was doing something different. He ran long, and he pitted late. I said after he pitted, man, that's a bad strategy call. He's right now losing 20 points from where he was running, and he's likely not going to gain it back. Well, hold on a second. Because there was a caution after Larson spins after contact from Blaney while passing Austin Dillon. That brought out a caution. Blaney Hamlin and Elliott were the top 3 off pit road, Reddick stayed out. So I'm saying, well, we saw earlier Reddick should be passed by someone because the tires were bad. Even 4-lap old tires. What we saw earlier is guys got their lunch ate by the other guys. So yeah, I figured that would happen. Hamlin got to lead right away, and Blaney got to lead at the white, and then out of turn in the outside line, Reddick just came out of a cannon, absolutely slingshotted around the wall to the lead, 3 inches from the wall, and then he won the race. It's like, wow.
Yeah,
I look like an idiot. I would give this race an 8 out of 10. With the playoff picture now, Ethan, we have Reddick and Logano. They're advanced. Bell, he's sitting good at 29 points. And then you have the bubble guys of Byron +7, Larson -7, and Hamlin -14. I'm going to talk about Larson here. Because if Larson doesn't miss that Charlotte race, he, in all likelihood, wins the regular season points championship, which gets him 6 more points. And right now, instead of being down 7, he'd be down 1. Down 1. So those 6 points could be huge.
And like, if Larson doesn't advance to Phoenix, that's just crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a question for you, Andrew.
Yeah.
Do you think that if Kyle Larson, arguably the most popular driver in NASCAR, or at least the driver that most NASCAR fans consider to be the best right now,
yeah,
if he misses the finale, or he isn't able to win, does NASCAR reconsider the playoff structure?
No, they're not.
Okay.
Should they? Absolutely. Because I think one race shouldn't dictate the whole season.
I agree.
I liked it. I liked the format when it came, because there's a lot of changes that happened. They redid everything, and most of those changes were good. But one thing I didn't like is the way one race decides everything. I would say go back kind of to what we had in like 2012, when you had your top 10 points make the chase. Then you have 2 wild cards for the top guy, whoever has the most wins, tiebreakers, highest in points, and then you just have 10 races to say, okay, who's gonna win, who's gonna be the best in those 10 races.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that Joey Logano's not going to be the best. Even though he has 2 wins, he's ran abysmal otherwise. And you can argue Bowman, who isn't even in the round of 8, has had the best playoffs. He just got disqualified at the wrong time. So, yeah.
It's such an unrepresentative format that NASCAR has currently.
Yeah, I'd like to see them change it. They won't change it at the end of the day. I think most NASCAR fans agree, but the thing NASCAR fans don't agree on is, do they want things like stages? Do they want things like the 16-man playoff going into or do they want a full season points format?
Yes.
So there's a lot of variation and ideas. A lot of people say a lot of different things. Very interesting discourse.
Yeah.
And finally, I'm going to round up these playoff talks. Blaney and Elliott, 34 and 39 points back, respectively. They're going to have to capitalize on heartbreak or win if they want to advance. Ethan, Mexico City, talk about it.
Do you want to talk about the other thing we have listed first? I know you're dying to talk about it.
Oh.
Or is that just a joke?
It's listed last on the review, and I do want to talk about this because I think it was awesome.
Out of the way.
So,
first.
if you don't know, the MX5 Cup, which is a feeder series in IMSA. They basically take Spec Miatas, race them. And they raced them at Martinsville in an exhibition race. First time they raced on an oval. I watched the race. It was an hour in length. 100 laps, wound up being about an hour in length for those who, if you want to watch. It was a great race, great short track battling. I would like to see the Miatas go to Martinsville and other ovals in the future. You know how this idea was conceived, Ethan?
I have absolutely no clue.
So there's this, iRacing. And there's this
Yes.
one streamer who goes by Moonhead.
Okay.
He has a series called Moon Car.
Okay.
And where he has a bunch of different cars at a bunch of different tracks. And he has a bunch of different iRacers. And one of the iRacers happens to be some guy named Dale Jr. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I've heard of him.
So, yeah. And in his series, one of the ones that's a fan favorite is they go to Martinsville in Miatas. So IMSA said, maybe that might be good
Is
in
it
real
like
life.
confirmed that that's where they got the idea?
Oh, I don't think it's confirmed, but heavily speculated.
Okay.
I would give that race an 8 out of 10. Like if I were to say, hey, non-motor racing fan, you need to watch a quick race. That's what I'm turning them on to, because that had an all-time finish, great quality racing throughout, and quick. 3 big things you want to convince a fan over. So yeah.
I want to race a Spec Miata.
I do too.
Let's get the loose wheel show Spec Miata racing series off the ground, Andrew. It's gonna GoFundMe going.
Yeah.
But before
Fun quick fact.
Yeah.
This is not, well, I know we both know this person. We know of this person.
Yeah.
There's a person in Cronkite, a year younger than us, named Joey Andrews, who's going to be driving in that series next year.
Yeah. It'd be very cool if we could get in touch and maybe get him on the show eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But I will be talking about the Mexico City Grand Prix now. So, yeah, it happened.
Wow.
It happened. It was actually a really good race. Honestly, like 7.5, 8 out of 10. A lot of action throughout the race. I mean, as you'll see, it had a little bit of everything, including...
It didn't have one thing, though.
What did it have?
Passing for the lead after lap 8.
Doesn't take away from how good of a race it was, though. It really doesn't. One thing it did have was a crazy crash on lap 1, before turn 1 even, as Mexico City sometimes produces. Essentially what happened is Pierre Gasly got squeezed by Alex Albon into Yuki Tsunoda, who was at the edge of the track. Albon's front left. You okay, Andrew?
I'm fine. I'm seeing a text, and it's making me laugh, but not out loud, because I don't want to distract Ethan, so I'm just laughing in the corner.
Okay. Albon's front left tire... I wish y'all could see this. Albon's front left tire hit Yuki's back right. Yuki's right wheel flew off. One could say, Andrew, that it was a loose wheel. And now Andrew is actually laughing out loud. Beautiful.
Oh my god.
Yuki hit the wall. His tire was already off. Like, race was over for him. Albon's race was over. He got damaged. It was a bit of an aggressive move by Yuki to go around the outside, or to be on the outside of the track there, but nothing crazy. And Pierre, like, a bit of an unnecessary move to go towards the edge of the track, but he didn't realize Albon was there. He didn't realize Yuki was there. It's no one's fault. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't a bad. It wasn't anything. It was just an incident. Turn 1 at Mexico. It happens. Besides the crash, though, on lap 1, talking about the top 4 guys, Lando got clear of Charles on the start, and then Max got a great start off the line as well and was able to pass Carlos just before turn 1. Carlos went off track to kind of keep the position, but then gave the position back before a safety car came out for the aforementioned incident. So 2 races in a row with a safety car after no safety car for like 10.
Odds are odding again.
Yeah, that's just Formula 1 for you. Sometimes that's how it goes. But anyway, racing got resumed on lap 9. Sainz got a great pass on Max down the straight and passed him into turn 1 for the lead down the inside. He was able to hold off Max through turn 2 and 3. So actually, you're wrong, Andrew. There was passing for the lead after turn 8. It was on lap 8. It was on lap 9. You're wrong.
My bad.
You are wrong.
Still, what is that? 6/7 of the race didn't have passing?
It had plenty of passing.
For the lead, my bad.
Okay.
My bad.
Okay. On lap 10, Lando made a move around the outside of Max at turn 4. He looked to be ahead of Max at the apex, which is important, Andrew.
The lights just came on in the studio. You keep talking. I'll worry about the lights.
The studio might be haunted.
The lights are too bright.
The studio might be haunted. This show is just going great tonight. So Max, he pushed Lando off the track. Lando was able to go wide and come back onto the track ahead of Max. And then into turn 7, Max pushed Lando wide off the track again. He went down the inside, and Max was just throwing complete caution to the wind at that point. He had zero intention of making the corner. He practically went straight off, taking Lando with him, which allowed Charles to come through as well into second place. I talked about in Texas how those moves from Max, they weren't dangerous, they weren't reckless. It was aggressive, but it wasn't really anything more than that. This was bad. You can't do things. You can't do what he did in turn 7. That was too aggressive. That was reckless. You can't purposefully miss a corner to take a driver off with you. And Max knows what he's doing. He said post-race that, again, this is paraphrasing, this isn't a direct quote, but he was essentially saying that if he didn't do that move, Lando would probably win the race. He knew what he was doing, and he wasn't shy about it.
Well, he's exposing the system for what it is.
He is exposing the system, except this time the system came back and gave him punishment. Again, he still comes out a bit of a winner, because if Lando did go on to win that race, would have been worse off for him. But Max got 2 10-second time penalties for his shenanigans, let's call them. One for the turn 4 incident, one for the turn 7 incident. I'm surprised they weren't 5-second time penalties, but as I'll get into later, the drivers have almost unanimously agreed for harsher penalties. We'll get into that later. But so two 10-second time penalties. Pushing Lando wide after Lando had the corner at turn 4, and then just forcing him off at 7. Max is smart. He knows what he's doing, but that doesn't make it right. It was dirty. He got a very strong punishment, but you could argue he could have deserved more, like a drive-through or something, because he was trying to take Lando out of contention for the lead of the race by throwing him off the track, and he succeeded. It worked. And that's not in the spirit of racing. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that happened. On lap 15, George Russell made a very nice move around the outside of Lewis Hamilton into turn 1. Those two Mercedes drivers were battling pretty much throughout most of the race, which was very entertaining to watch throughout the race. And props to Mercedes for letting them kind of go at each other at times throughout the race as well. On lap 16, Fernando Alonso, he retired in what was his 400th Grand Prix due to a brake cooling issue. Not the way he wanted his 400th race to go, but 400 is still a great milestone for him to hit. Kind of crazy. He's been in F1 since, before I was born.
We were born.
Yeah. On lap 18, then, Sergio Perez tried to go down the inside of Liam Lawson into turn 4, which we've already talked about plenty. This was for 10th place. And it was a very aggressive move for 10th place, because the problem with this move, was Lawson was already taking a normal racing line into that corner. There was really no room. Like, they were battling throughout the race, and it reached a high point here. Lawson got pushed wide a little bit, and he returned the favor by making a move at turn 5 that just barely worked. There was damage to Sergio Perez, which kind of ruined the rest of his race. He called Liam Lawson an idiot, but I mean, Sergio, what are you doing? You're being so aggressive for 10th place and ruining the rest of your race because there's absolutely no room there. Like, you're going to be able to get him at some point in the next few laps. Like, you're being way too aggressive there. To prove that the damage was significant, Lance Stroll almost passed him on the next lap.
Lance Stroll. What a guy.
Fast forwarding a little bit, Max serves his penalty and pit stop 20 seconds before he can sit there. He came out, I believe, in 15th place, and we got to see him come through the rest of the field for... Yes.
I have a question. You finish your sentence first, though.
We got to see him come through the field for most of the rest of the race, which it's always entertaining to see a driver in a car that shouldn't be at the back of the grid race through the competition.
All right, you can explain this to me because you know the sport better than I do.
Go for it.
Can Red Bull elect to say we want those to serve those penalties after the race if they would want? Can they do that or no?
No. If you... Well, Max hadn't pit yet. If Max had already completed a pit stop, they could have went the entire race without having another pit stop.
Right.
And then it would just be tacked on to the end. But since they hadn't had a pit stop, it has to be served before the tires get changed.
Okay.
And even if they already had a pit stop and they came back in for a second pit stop, like, anytime you come into the pits,
okay. All right.
you have to serve the penalty.
Okay.
Later on, lap 44, we're jumping to now. Oscar Piastri, it wasn't really a tough race, just a tough weekend. He started at the back of the grid. He was horrific in qualifying, got bumped out in Q1. He made a move into the top 10 on Pierre Gasly on lap 44. He would inherit 9th after Franco Colapinto pitted, and on lap 56, he passed Nico Hülkenberg for 8th, but couldn't track down Kevin Magnussen, who was in 7th. So you can see there, the Haas were having a good weekend. Hülkenberg and K-Mag both in the points. A McLaren couldn't catch K-Mag in the Haas, and K-Mag at one point looked to be catching Max after Max had come through and passed Magnussen for 6th. After a while, it looked like K-Mag was going to give Max a bit of a run for his money. So Haas has really improved in a short while, and just...
Toyota Haas.
Well, just even before that, Ayo Komatsu came in and he got this team back on the right track. So, huge shout out to him, round of applause to him. He's done a lot for the team in a short amount of time. On lap 63, Lando was pushing. He was setting fastest laps leading up to this lap, and he finally was able to get past Charles Leclerc for a second. He was tracking him down. Essentially what happened was Charles' tires were dead. So you can't blame him too much for what happened, but he tried to get a perfect exit off that final corner for the straightaway. He knew he would need it because Lando was going to give it his best run into turn 1, and he just overdid it on those old tires. It didn't work out. He went off track. So you can't blame him too much, but you can blame him a little bit. But it was a nice save to keep it out of the wall. Could have been a lot worse of an incident for Leclerc, an incident, if you want to call it, and a potential I am stupid moment avoided. And from there, Lando was free to go on and try to track down Sainz. That didn't end up happening, of course. Sainz crossed the line to win the race, but before that, the Mercedes continued to fight. Hamilton got past George in the same way that George got past him earlier in the race. Lawson and Colapinto, the two rookies, they were going at it. Colapinto basically did a recreation of the Sergio Perez move from earlier in the race, which was kind of funny. But yeah, those two rookies, they both had good showings this weekend, even though neither of them scored points. And as Andrew just keeps spamming me, what a save. You can say that on the show into your microphone. You don't have to text me.
I'm making a joke, but anyway, the lights are now back on in the studio, or back to what they were, because I went over there, set them. The lights are now not too bright for Ethan, so there.
They were never too bright for me. The lights are too bright for you, buddy. You can't perform under the bright lights of the Bill Austin radio studio.
Yes, I can.
So, like I said, Sainz crossed the line. Charles and Sergio, they were both pitting, attempting for the fastest laps. With the damage that Sergio took, it was never going to be his, but Charles was able to get the fastest lap. Sainz, Norris, Leclerc, Hamilton, Russell, Verstappen, Magnussen, Piastri, Hülkenberg, and Pierre Gasly. Your top 10 for Mexico. Like I said, very solid race. As you can see, a little bit of everything. Drivers going from the back, battling throughout the race, some crashes. Had a little bit of everything.
Ethan, I understand there's an award you'd like to give out.
Not yet, actually.
Oh, okay. You didn't put it. Well, you didn't put where it was on the docs. I thought you'd do here. Anyway, going into the news.
And now for the news.
Good news.
Good news. I love good news.
53 years after the fact, the 1971 NASCAR race gets an official winner at Bowman Gray Stadium, and that is now Bobby Allison getting the win, putting him sole fourth out all time, breaking him out of tie with Darrell Waltrip.
Andrew, explain to me how this happened.
Well, what happened was there was two classes running. There was a NASCAR official class, and then they had an alternate class called the Grand American cars, which were lighter or smaller cars, and that's what Allison chose to run that day. And then Richard Petty finished second. He said, they aren't the same. The win shouldn't count, so no one was given the win. And now NASCAR with Bowman Gray Stadium hosting the Clash next year, they said, okay, we'll give them the win, which they should.
So, marketing?
No, well, it's something that was overdue, and they finally did it.
Okay.
So good job, NASCAR.
Okay.
NASCAR also completed a wet weather test at Homestead with 3 cars today, and they said the tests were good, but they did have a mild spray issue. We'll see if anything comes from that soon. Maybe 2026 or 2027. Maybe we'll see what weather tires on the intermediates.
Okay.
That's a prediction. Ethan, you talk about Formula One news.
Yeah, so as I teased in the race review, 19 of 20 drivers are in agreement to change the racing guidelines. George Russell, head of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, wouldn't say who the one driver who wasn't in favor was, but
Is it Vax Verstappen by any chance?
I'll have to ask my sources. You
have sources? Okay.
No, I don't have sources. The sources are the voices in my head. So the Grand Prix Drivers Association, they got together and had a meeting, as they do, and they decided that the racing guidelines for basically what happened at the USGP, there needs to be stricter guidelines. So 19 of the 20 drivers were pleased to see unfair maneuvers penalized at the Mexico Grand Prix. Wonder what they're referring to there. So, the drivers wanted this. They don't want to see their opponents being able to just run them off the track, which, shocker, makes sense, you know. And it doesn't fix everything. Like I said, in talking about Austin, moves like Russell getting a penalty for just making a normal corner because Bottas went wide, like, that stuff still needs to be fixed, but good to see that the drivers are coming together, creating an alliance to improve the racing the best that they can. This was going to happen anyway in 2025, that stricter penalties were going to be starting to be handed out, but they're happening now, which I think is what needed to happen. I think it's reached that point in the season where they needed to make changes, and it was starting to be more harmful to wait than to make a mid-season change, which isn't always the case, but it was the case here. You know?
Yeah, I know.
Next bit of Formula One news. Power unit manufacturers Honda and Renault, so Red Bull and Alpine, have agreed to pay fines for procedural breaches of the FIA's engine cost cap rules, according to motorsport.com. So they didn't actually breach the cost cap, these two teams, but their reportings were still factually incorrect. There were omissions. Not everything was being reported. So Honda, they got fined $600,000, and Alpine got fined $400,000. Renault, Alpine, whatever you want to call them. That's basically it. Like, they didn't actually breach the cost cap, but they still had to pay fines. All teams seem to be within the cost cap right now. Good news, but hurts those two teams' pockets just a little bit. Now, Andrew, you said I had an award to give out earlier.
Yes, you do.
Andrew has bestowed upon me the responsibility of handing out the Chicken Award. I don't take this lightly, you know. The ability to squeeze a rubber chicken, what might be a dog toy from somewhere in Andrew's life.
Its purpose was never a dog toy.
No? Okay, if you say so. But I don't take this responsibility lightly.
It is the unofficially the most prestigious award in Blaze Radio history. Unofficially.
I don't know if we can say it's the most prestigious award in our show history.
Well, it's basic.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll see.
Basically, warning. That
was
signifies.
far away. You gotta squeeze it.
That
close.
signifies that Red Bull are clowns, or in this case, chickens. Why are they clowns? Why are they chickens? Because of the Liam Lawson Sergio Perez situation. After the race, Liam Lawson was standing in Red Bull's motorhome like a child who knew he was about to be told off because he was racing Sergio Perez hard because he flipped off Sergio Perez when he went to pass him. I mean, this wouldn't happen with any other two teams. It's just because Red Bull also owns RB, they get to tell Liam Lawson off. Christian Horner had a quote where he said something along the lines of, "Oh, well, they were fighting, so it shows that the two teams compete against each other." You told off Liam Lawson because he was racing Sergio Perez too hard. That's if that's not deserving of the Chicken Award, I don't know what is, Andrew. It's a load of bleep. A load of baloney.
It's a load of... It's a load of...
What is happening tonight? Andrew almost just fell out of his chair. That was hilarious to watch. Keeping up with the Red Bull news, Yuki Tsunoda is going to get a driver's test in Abu Dhabi. A tire test is specifically what it's going to be after the completion of the season. Andrew is scaring me right now. He's getting scarily close to me. Personal bubble, dude. Personal bubble.
You have half your desk.
It's nice to see Helmut Marko giving Yuki Tsunoda an opportunity in a Red Bull, even if it is just in a tire test. I hope he does really well. 'Cause we talked about it before. He's deserving of that Red Bull second seat, but it would also be a curse if he got it. So hopefully he does well, but also like, do you actually want to do well? I don't know. It's the Yuki Tsunoda to Red Bull good or bad paradox, as I'm dubbing it now. And then last bit of Formula One news: Franco Colapinto, he's unlikely to race in Formula One next year. The rumors of him to RB, they're nothing. He's gonna go look to race somewhere else. Drivers like Felipe Drugovich, take notes. You want to take the IndyCar news, or do you want me to?
You put it in there, so it's your problem.
All right, it's my problem, so I'll talk about it. The promoters of the Mexico City Grand Prix were in talks, or currently are in talks, with IndyCar. We saw IndyCar driver Pato O'Ward driving the McLaren in FP1.
Pato who?
Award.
Oh my gosh, you didn't get the Pato Award reference of the hat, the shoes, the billboard, the Pato who.
Okay, hilarious.
Well, if I had to explain it, it's not going to be funny, but...
Yeah, so obviously Award is huge in Mexico as far as IndyCar drivers go, of course. Home country hero, really. And an IndyCar race in Mexico would be an amazing experience to see those fans cheer him on. He's one of the most popular drivers in the States. The most popular driver in Mexico, and Mr. what is his name? Alejandro Soberon, the president of the Mexico City Grand Prix. He said that they're in talks with IndyCar, bring a race there. I would love to see just an IndyCar race outside of the U.S. or Canada. Don't think we've seen that since the last Motegi race.
I think Surfers Paradise was more recent, I think. We'll see. I'm checking.
Yeah, we are checking. But, yeah, either way, it's been a while since IndyCar has branched out of Canada or the U.S. So it'd be really cool to see that. Hopefully it happens. NASCAR's going to Mexico next year.
Yes.
So why can't IndyCar, you know? I want to see it happen. I want to see it happen. I think it would be really fun.
It would be. As you said, you have Pato O'Ward. I think maybe the most popular driver worldwide in the series. So, yeah, I'm trying to find what.
This could open the door for more international IndyCar races, right. Which, I mean, I would still like to see IndyCar be just like a staple in the U.S., like have most of the races in the U.S., but that doesn't mean I don't want them to have international races as well. I would love them to have international races, reach out into an international market. It's just they're not Formula One. They're not going to be able to have the international reach that Formula One does, but you can still have 2-3 international races a year. Go back to Motegi, maybe. I don't know. I mean, Mexico City, it's not the greatest track in the world, but it would still be awesome to see a race there. Go down to Brazil. I know that was being talked about a year ago. We talked about it on the show a year ago, I believe. I'm sure we did. Yeah. Interlagos is an amazing circuit, and with the amazing racing that IndyCar provides, I can only imagine the 10 out of 10 race that we would see of IndyCar on Interlagos. Like, go out there, IndyCar, and spread your wings.
The last IndyCar race international, it was in Canada, was at Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Okay.
But Streets of Sao Paulo in an exhibition race, 2015.
Yeah, what is
and
that?
And the 2013, they had a race there as well that was for points. So there you go. There you have it.
Even?
It's a street course.
No, I know. I'm just like, why would you do that when you have Interlagos right there?
I didn't pay attention to IndyCar when I was.
I'm not actually asking you. It's a rhetorical question.
I think I might have an answer for you. Maybe Formula One was. I'm trying to think of a word that I can actually say on this show. That F1 was blocking. For IndyCar.
It doesn't work like that. Like
or the promoters saying no, we have F1.
The promoters could say that, sure,
yeah, maybe,
but I don't know why they would. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the previews.
And now for next week's race previews.
Martinsville, NASCAR Cup Series action. Notable drivers, 15, Kaz Gralla, 16, SVG, 66, Josh Bilicki for MVM. And then the 5. Ethan, I hope you can pick this trend up of the 5. I have 5-time winner Denny Hamlin, 2-time winner William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell. What's the trend in those 5?
Can you say it? They're all in the playoffs.
And
I don't know.
They all haven't clinched.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was aiming for here, is that they're all in the playoffs and they haven't clinched, because it's a go or go home time for these guys. I also honorable mentions Chase Elliott. I just don't love him at Martinsville compared to the other 5. And then Truex, 3-time winner there, is another honorable mention. We got 3 more. We got 2-time winner Kyle Busch. Alex Bowman, he won there. That was the race where Denny called him the HAC. You can figure out the 4th letter there, word. And then Logano and Keselowski. I don't know if I mentioned Kyle Busch's 2-time winner there, but yeah. Bowman could be strong there, and Elliott, but we'll see. Xfinity, SS Greenlight Racing going with Patrick Emmerling and Greg Van Alst, Joe Gibbs All-Star Cars, William Sawalich and Eric Almirola. Sam Hunt Racing going with the short track ace Bubba Pollard.
Okay.
You've got Joey Gase Racing going with Carson Ware and Mason Maggio. Alpha Prime, their 3rd car is Garrett Smithley. Preston Pardus will be in the 50 for Pardus Racing. And then you also have 74 for Mike Harmon is TBA. I would not be surprised if that was Ryan Vargas. We will see, as I don't think they've announced that yet. DGM Racing 91, Myatt Snyder 92, Dawson Cram. Truck Series, you got William Sawalich in the 5th Tricon truck, the 1 in the only Young's truck this week, Dylan Lupton in the 02. New team, Hettinger Racing. That's the
debut?
Yeah, debut.
Okay.
That's the team owned by the father of late model racer Katie Hettinger. They brought out the Brett Holmes team that just shut down, and they're going to run the Ford number 4 with Brett Moffitt this week. So he'll be a good measuring stick for what that team is. Gets good equipment out of with runs. 6 will be Norm Benning for Norm Benning. 7, Connor Zilich. 16, Johnny Sauter. 22 will be Clayton Green. 27 for Josh Rayum. Both those last 2 trucks for Rayum brothers. Next 2 trucks are Nice 44, Matt Gold. 45, Caden Honeycutt. Then you have 66, Connor Jones, who he intentionally right rear hooked Matt Mills and sent him to the hospital. Mills is out of the hospital.
That is,
and
you should be banned.
He should be suspended for this race.
No, just indefinitely banned. Intentionally trying to send a driver to a hospital.
Well, right rear hooked him. I mean,
the fact that
you look at what they've done in the past with Elliott and Wallace. That's what the suspension should be. 1 race.
And why? Okay.
It just for continuity's sake. And the final
suspend him for the rest of the season. I don't know. Like that's crazy in my opinion.
And the final 2 trucks, both owned by McNally Hilgerman, Corey Day 81-91, Jack Wood. Bahrain. I'm going to talk about Bahrain for the WEC World Endurance Championship.
Last race of the season, I believe.
Yeah, last race of the season. I'm trying to load that right now. Defending winners for the race were the 8 Toyota of Sebastian Buemi, Brandon Hartley, and Ryo Hirakawa. they're all going to be back together.
That is a strong car.
The LMP2, they've all gone their separate ways. So it's a 41 Team WRT with Rui Andrade, Louis Delatres, and Robert Kubica. And then in the LMGT3E, which is now LMGT3, was Iron Dames of Sarah Bovey, Ray Halfrey, and Michelle Gadding. They're all back together, so maybe they could possibly win. I'm gonna go through some quick driver changes. You have some Alpine changes. Jules Goonen back in the 35 for the second race in a row. Charles Milesi, the guy who's normally in the 35, he's going to the 36, replacing the retiring Nicolas Lapierre. Just going through the list. I don't think they're... Matteo Caroli in for Frank Pereira in the 60 Iron Lynx. See if that changes anything. Oh my gosh, an Italian ring. Gio Rodrigo Roda.
Let me see.
I think it's Giorgio, but Italian.
Giorgio.
But it's I don't know.
Giorgio. You got to do this with your hands when you say it.
I'm not doing anything with my hands. He's replacing Christian Reed in the 88, and Gianmarco Leveratos replacing Mikkel O. Peterson also in the 88. Multiple driver changes there. Conrad Larson, he's going to be in the 8 replacing the 78 Lexus replacing Clement Schmid. And that is it in terms of driver changes. The Porsche Penske, actually, doing some math here. The Ferrari AF Course car, they're second in the points right now. They would have to win the drivers the Hypercar World Championship, and the 6 Porsche I think that's a 6 car. Yeah, the 6 Porsche Penske would have to not run in the points. So it's similar points to Formula 1 top 10 points. And it's a similar boat for the Toyota Gazoo Racing number 7 team, is they would have to win as well. LMGT3, that's locked up of Manthai Pure 91, of Klaus Backler, Alex Malkin, and Joel Sturm for Porsche.
Yeah. And then Formula 1, they are racing in Sao Paulo this weekend, last leg of the triple header. It's a sprint weekend. Only 4 races left in the season, 2 more sprints, 1 in Sao Paulo, 1 in Qatar. I want to point out that in Mexico, even with Max finishing 6th and Lando finishing 2nd, that's only a 10-point gain. Max is at 362 points, Lando is at 315. Yes, you have 4 races and 2 sprints, but that's a sizable gap. Like, it would honestly take a generational choke job, a generational bottle, for Max to throw this away. So, as long as Max keeps running solid throughout these races, he's going to do, which he is going to do. He's going to walk away with the championship, and that's that. So, for Sao Paulo, who to watch out for, I'm not really sure, to be honest. I could see the McLarens being the fastest. I could see the Ferraris being the fastest again, as they've been the past 2 weekends. You can never count a guy out like Lewis Hamilton at Interlagos. The Mercedes are pretty much always quick there, and I mean, you can't exactly count out Max either. So I don't know what to expect. It'll be interesting to see how it transpires.
And now for next week's race picks.
Get into the pick points. You'll see how we believe it will. But before we do that, talking about what happened last weekend, Andrew is disappointed as I gained an advantage over him again. 346 points to me, 326 points to Andrew. Andrew's telling me to hurry up because he doesn't want to hear it. But I'm going to talk about it, man. I'm going to talk about it. No, I didn't pick the winner correctly. Andrew didn't pick the correct winner, but he does get 1 point because he picked Charles Leclerc to win, and Charles Leclerc finished on the podium, and he gets a point for Lando Norris finishing on the podium, even though he didn't finish third. Now, what happened was I picked Lando to finish second, and I picked Charles to finish third, and that's exactly what happened. That's 10 points in the bag, 10 points to me. Shout out Juliano Muller. We'll have him on the show at one point. He also picked that for the guests, so 10 points to the guest there as well. In NASCAR, the Truck Series, Ty Majeski was Andrew's pick. He finished ahead of Corey Heim and Rajah Caruth. I picked Austin Hill to win Homestead Miami. He did win Homestead Miami. What a great pick. Let's go there. And then Christopher Bell finished ahead of Kyle Larson and William Byron. 1 point to me. Now, for Sao Paulo, like I said, sprint weekend across the board. I don't know who's doing guests this week. But Morgan, shout out Morgan Tremmel.
He's going to be on the pod sometime, too. Yeah. Or the show. Where's show now? I got to remember that.
Me too. Me too, man.
Hey.
Across the board, Max Verstappen's winning the sprint. Why? I don't know. It kind of just felt right. He's been dominant in sprints. And then for the actual race, you're sticking with your gun, Charles Leclerc, even though you think he's a little fraudulent.
Yeah.
You still think he's going to win. I think that's a crazy statement, but I don't have Leclerc to win. I have Lando winning. Morgan has Charles winning. Morgan has Lando finishing second. I have Charles finishing second, and Andrew has Lando finishing second. So there you go. We agree, just in opposite order. Carlos Sainz, last week's winner. You think he's going to finish third. I think Max Verstappen's going to finish third. Morgan agrees with me there. You two think that the 7 Toyota is going to win WEC Bahrain Hypercar. I'm saying the 12 Hertz Team Jota. They learn something new every day. Callum Ilot's in that car. That's all I know.
Yeah, he does drive that car. You know who's in the 7 car? You have two Formula
Nick
One
DeVries
drivers.
is in there, and so is... Don't tell me. Tell me.
Asian Formula One driver. Thinking. He's I think I've cooked him, chat.
Kobayashi?
Yes!
Kobayashi is in the car. Let's go. Okay. That's a pull. Not really, but...
Alright. Anyway.
Yeah. 91 Manthey EMA is your pick for LMGT3. I'm taking the 92 Manthey, not the EMA. It's like the pure X Racing, something like that.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
They run under different flags, I know. I don't know what the difference is besides that. And they're running under different names. Trucks, I'm going with Heim Time. You're going with Ty Majeski. Yeah. You're going with Sammy Smith. Explain yourself on that one. I'm going with Eric Almirola. I want to hear your reasoning here.
I had no idea who to pick, to be honest. Kind of just threw it out the dartboard. He finished solid at Martinsville last year. I can't remember exactly why I decided to pick him. It was just vibes, honestly. Like, I didn't have a good read on anyone for Martinsville.
I'm going with Denny Hamlin for Cup. You're going with Larson?
Yeah, Larson, he doesn't need a win, but he needs a win.
He could use one. Alright, that's about the end of the show. Ethan, do you have anything to say to the viewers?
If you listen to this one, wow, because this was one of the shows of all time.
Shout out. Alright, goodbye everyone. We'll see you next week. Breakdown After Dark's coming right up. But first, we've got Wild Night by Van Morrison.
Go Yankees.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, wheel.